everybody, welcome back to another video. So today I thought I would spend a little bit of time recapping the last year and a half of my Mounjaro weight loss journey. I cannot believe it has been a year and a half. And so when I was sitting down trying to think of, a couple different topics for some future videos, it dawned on me. I was like, wow, I've been on this for a year and a half. Let me do a video talking about it. So in this video, I'm just going to do a recap of my journey from, why I started, when I started, just some background into some of my prior weight loss struggles, my weight loss markers from like where I started to where I am now, from weight, BMI, body fat percentage, skeletal muscle mass, visceral fat, metabolic age, all these markers that, you get from, I say smart scales or in-body scans. I'll touch a little bit on some side effects and just, is there anything I would have done differently? And I thought, I would spend a little bit of time in today's video, going through the past year and a half. And so if you are new here, I'm Jen. And like I said, I've been on a Mounjaro weight loss journey since March of 2023. I am currently down 93 pounds. I'm getting inching closer to my goal of 100 pounds. And I want to put that little asterisk next to it. That is me getting to what I perceive to be my ideal weight. And it's going to probably fluctuate up and down, as I get into that maintenance period in the future. But yeah, let's get into it. Let's just do a quick little, I want to just give a little quick recap. And I've talked a little bit about this in prior videos of just my past history. And so I want to first say that I probably did not start struggling with weight until maybe, college, a little later in college, because I know when you gain weight, we talk about that the freshman 20, and I did. I gained, decent amount of weight in college freshman year. And so even though I played two sports, I wasn't sleeping well. I was, having a little bit of fun, didn't, eat as well as I should have, prioritize the right foods. But I was young, I had fun. But going from freshman year to sophomore year, I want to say in 2.5 months, I lost about close to 35 pounds. And I really focused that summer on getting myself back on track. And I really followed a lot of the training, preseason program that we got, or the summer program. And so, most of sophomore year, yes, I gained some of that weight back, but it was nowhere near what it was like freshman year. And that's kind of where it was throughout college, where I was going up and down. And keep in mind, I've always been a little bit of a bigger person, and that's not a negative thing for me to say. I'm, 5'9", 5'9.5", if you want to be exact. And, I'm a little bit broader. Maybe I miss my calling as a swimmer. Because I've done some swimming, with triathlons, and I'm pretty good at it, but, I'm not at that where I was like, oh, I could have been an Olympic athlete or anything, but I've always been, like I said, I've been active. I played soccer, basketball, softball, you name the sport, I played it. Even after I graduated from college, I was doing all the sports social leagues here in Baltimore. I've done marathons and triathlons, but somewhere along the lines, my weight started shifting. And it was just kind of creeping up. And I can look at it from a million different, lenses, from, how I was eating, wasn't sleeping well, enjoying my life, didn't have a great relationship with food at times. But I always knew when to turn the switch and lose the weight. And I would lose the weight, you would look back now and you think, oh, I successfully lost, 30, 40 pounds. But how I did it, knowing what I know now, yes, I was successful, but I never was successful at maintaining it, because then I wouldn't have to be on Mounjaro, years down the road. But I had a lot of, and I recently started going through, and I don't want to go down a rabbit hole with this, but I started going through some of my medical records, and I started looking at different time periods. And, I had Graves' disease, hyperthyroidism, in my early 20s, like right toward the tail end of college. I had cancer when I was 26, 27, went through treatment there. I've had up and down bouts with high blood pressure, high cholesterol, And one that was very interesting is that I used to always say up to this point, and I say this nicely, I've been taking Mounjaro off label because I don't have type 2 diabetes. And I never up to this point thought I was even pre-diabetic. But as I was going through my records, there was a good 2.5 years where I had some blood work that was putting me in that pre-diabetes, I guess you could say, part of the blood work. So I guess you could say I was in the range to be pre-diabetic. I had like a brain stop there all of a sudden. But I was noticing all of these interesting metabolic markers that puts me kind of like a little bit more in that dysfunction. And so, I also believe that when I was going through it, there's some things that indicated some insulin resistance. And I don't want to go and harp too much on the past or what was missed, but I think that's starting to explain a little bit of why Mounjaro worked pretty well for me. But anyway, past history, struggled off and on, would constantly be yo-yoing, and never really was able to lose the weight. And I think the final nail in the coffin, the one where I had to have a nice conversation with my doctor before I started taking Mounjaro, was at the end of 2022. And I had a really rough 2022, just with some things in my personal life, stresses at work. Just that's where everything got exposed with my unhealthy eating. And I gained a substantial amount of weight in like a 1.5 to 2 year time period. And so I knew at the end of 2022, as everybody does getting into the new year, you're like, this is the year. This is the year I'm going to lose the weight. I got this. And, I didn't think anything about Mounjaro or Ozempic, Wegovy's, whatever was out there at the time, because I, just was like, okay, let me sign up for a transformation challenge, with Orange Theory Fitness. Love them, love everything about them. Let me really clean up my eating. I kind of took a slight weird approach with my eating in terms of just kind of simplifying it with broccoli, chicken, rice, like very simple, basic meals, not a lot of variation. And I went all in. I went in hard. I was ready. I told my doctor, I'm starting, the weight's going to come off. I got this. And it was a struggle. The weight was not coming off anywhere near what it used to in the years past, probably because now I'm in my 40s. But I remember being so discouraged a couple weeks into that challenge, as I thought at that point I probably should have lost at least 10 to 12 pounds, because I'm somebody that will lose a decent chunk in the first week or two, and then it kind of evens out to about a pound or two a week. And I just couldn't get that scale to budge. I couldn't get the numbers to change. And I went to my doctor and I was like, every single thing that I've known in the past is not working anymore. And he goes, well, I have some people in my practice that are currently on, certain medications. Take a look at them, see if your insurance covers any of them. I think that based off of your blood work, your history, your failed attempts at trying to lose weight over the past, couple months, that you are a prime candidate to try them. And, I got the spiel about the side effects and, lifestyle changes and just, diet, exercise, etc. And so I did some research, and ultimately why we went with Mounjaro was that my insurance covered it. And it covered it without having a type 2 diagnosis. I don't know why I'm struggling today. But I was like, okay, I think the time is now. Let's just see. And I remember having conversations with some family and friends that were a little bit hesitant, because you have to remember, back in March, Mounjaro was in some trials for weight loss, but it's nowhere near the amount of information we know now. So I really think that most of the people that started taking Mounjaro for weight loss were only a couple months ahead of me in March of 2023. So we're talking about end of 2022, winter of 2022, that a lot of people were starting to get on this medication. And so I tried to get as much information from, Facebook groups, Reddit, and it was just all over the place. And I decided at that moment I wanted to just put up my little blinders and just start taking it and start making the changes right away. So that's what I did. After my conversation with my doctor, I started in March of 2023. I weighed in at 253 pounds. Now I started, prior to that, my highest weight was 261. Highest, I always thought the highest I would ever get on the scale would be like 225. Like to me, that was like, oh my God, you need to lose weight. And the fact that I got to 261 probably explains why I had such high blood pressure, problems with cholesterol, severe headaches, blurred vision, just no energy. Even though I was still going to the gym, I was struggling. And it was also because I wasn't, I couldn't out-train a bad diet. But anyway, so I started, that's what I weighed in. I weighed at 253 and I was very excited to start. I started and I made changes right away. Now, I already had a good workout plan. I had a personal trainer I was using once a week, and I was going to the gym, 4 or 5 times a week. So I kind of kept my strategy with strength training and some walking. I kept that the same, but I really stripped back on my diet. I did that from day one. And that was something I told myself is that if I'm going into this, I'm going to start making these changes and I'm going to make them now. And I made a list of all the foods that I like to eat and I found healthier variations of that. And so I made the changes with food. I started mapping out some plans. I started tracking some of the food that I was eating and I figured out, what my range would be, calorie intake wise. And the interesting thing is that and even up to this point, I never had, maybe that's a lie. Maybe like once or twice it's happened to me, but I've never had full appetite suppression that you hear so many people talk about. They sit down and they eat and they can only eat a couple bites. I never experienced that, not once. And so I think that's where my experience is slightly different than others. Now the food noise was interesting, and I did a video on this, but the food noise was that was an interesting one for me because I always thought that I was somebody that I constantly thought about food and I just couldn't say no. And, I'm still working on that to this day. But I remember within a couple days, just not constantly consumed with the thoughts of, oh, when I'm done at the gym, let me stop and grab a cookie, or maybe I want some chips with, my dinner tonight. Like I could literally in the past sit down and have an amazing salad and then have like a little bag of like potato chips next to it. Like, why? But anyway, so the biggest thing was the food noise. And then, also going back to that lack of appetite suppression, I didn't have that benefit where, I was getting full quicker. I never had that. So I think that changed my approach a little bit. And I was thinking the other day, and comment below, like, I hope this makes sense, but I think I made a lot of changes early on to what I was eating because I heard so much about, like, if you eat certain things, you're going to have, some, stomach upsets, some gastro issues. You could throw up, or you could be extremely nauseous. I heard all these things that was like, if you eat a certain way on this, or things higher sugar or higher fat, that you could have some of these side effects. And I think because I heard that, a little bit of me was like, right now, as I'm starting, I'm not even going to bother dealing with that. I'm just going to really clean up my eating. And clean up my eating by what I knew. Like the things that I know now, and I won't go into, but the things I feel like I know now about eating and what I should and shouldn't be eating is like done a complete 180. And I also like, what is the right way? What is the right, changes to your eating plans? I hate to say the word diet, all the different, diets that are out there. Like, do we really know, like, what is the right way to eat for each and every one of us? Because I think it is different. But yeah, I think the biggest thing when I first started was just that reduction in food noise. And I think that's why I found so much success early on. And so I have my notes in front of me, so I just want to just kind of keep in front of this. But I also want to say, when I talk about, early on, we focus so much on that number on the scale. I think that's just how, I only want to speak for myself right now. I feel like that is that metric that you always keep your eye on. What is that number on the scale? And so this whole entire time, my focus has been on losing weight. Seeing that number, every week, every other week, every month, just slowly decrease for me to hit my ideal body weight goal. And I think knowing what I know now, and this would be extremely hard to do, but I would do things slightly different. I really would. I understand the importance of the number on the scale, but I also think I would have preferred to really keep my eye on, body fat percentage and just what like my skeletal muscle mass is. I think those are the two things I really wish I would have focused on earlier. Now I had all that data because I was doing in-body scans, but I was constantly, and you see it in my videos and you see it in other people's videos, we talk so much about, I lost this amount of weight. And I feel like maybe in the future, I might kind of start changing it to saying, I started at this body fat percentage. I'm now sitting here and, I'm seeing my muscle mass, slowly increase there. Because I think that's more telling than, the weight you lose. But I think, along the way, I've evolved with my eating, and I don't want to go down too much of a rabbit hole with there, but I think that as you progress through your journey, I know for me, I start learning the foods that really make me feel better, the balanced meals that I'm eating. I try not to shy away from I try to get like the healthier versions, but I love to just focus a lot on the balance of protein, carbs, healthy fats. I mainly get my carbs now from a lot of things like fruits and veggies, but yeah, and then the importance of fiber. And that's one of those things I've done up until this point pretty well of trying to stay within that range, that normal range of what you should be getting fiber-wise. But as of late, I've been slowly increasing it. But if I had to tell you right now, based off of starting in March to right now, if there's one thing I could or should have done slightly different, and I'm saying this hoping I would still have the same outcome, is I probably would have worked with a dietitian sooner. And I'm not saying you might have to go through a couple dietitians to find the one that is going to help you the most, because I think they also have so many different philosophies, and you don't want to get one that's just like this, giving you these generic meal plans and just not, completely understanding the GLP world. But I really do think early on, it would have been extremely beneficial to start working with a dietitian, and a lot of insurances will cover dietitians. Mine does. Why am I not utilizing it? Why didn't I utilize it sooner? I don't know. And then the other thing is that I wish I did, and I want to put a disclaimer, I'm not plugging the product here, but I wish I knew about Lumen a little bit sooner. Because, and I'll touch a little bit more on this when I start soon going through some of my markers, but I think that using the Lumen device has really taught me how to eat again, how to be comfortable with the foods that you're eating and not necessarily the volume, but to not be afraid of calories, to not be afraid of carbs, to not be afraid of healthy fats, to not just put all of your eggs in, literally, put all of it into the protein category and put so much focus on protein, because as important as that is, carbs and fat is just as important as those, especially, since I'm trying to, put some more muscle back on. But I think that's where we sometimes get a little bit, I don't want to say afraid. I know for me, you think when you're trying to lose weight, you got to kind of stay in this lower caloric range. But I think like when you start seeing, you need to eat 1,800 calories, you're like, whoa, I don't want to gain weight. But when you start really drilling down into, calorie calculators and talking to certain people and having the right balanced meal for the day, and you're eating, more than you ever have, I'm telling you, you will see those numbers start to drop. And I mean, that just happened to me, last month, where I lost a decent amount of weight in that month because I started making some better decisions about the ingredients of my food. And, I know it's still a work in progress, but I'm having that healthier relationship with food as well. And I'm not eating, just to eat. I know in the beginning I was very structured because I wanted to make sure I was eating throughout the day and getting all the right calories and fuel and food and all of that into my system. But now I'm starting to understand, the different times of day that maybe I should and shouldn't be eating, what foods I should be eating, stacking things a little bit earlier in the day versus later in the evening, and finding a nice little simple fasting window. And really, really, really starting to look at just overall improving my my metabolism. But I think that's also the key to maintaining, is to improve my metabolism. But yeah, so I probably should have started this as, I'm already a decent amount into this video time-wise, but let me go into, and I have a piece of paper here that I can't remember the numbers, but let me go into some of the starting and goal, like I guess you could say, for my weight to the BMI, etc. And I used, from day one, I've had this scale for ages. It's by, I think, eTech City. I'll link it below. Like I said, I've had it for years. I have so much information in here. Like, I think in the app, I probably have like 10 years worth of like all of my weight loss journeys. But yeah, so I used the scale. I weighed in at the same time. I also did an in-body scan a couple times at the gym as well. But for consistency, and I will put it also a disclaimer, it could be a little bit off with smart scales, but yeah, so let's go into some of my weight loss data. So like I said, I started March 2023 at 253 pounds. At the year mark, I lost 78.8 pounds. So about a year into my journey, I was sitting at 174.2 pounds. Then from that, and then another 6 months, I've lost another 13.8 pounds. So I'm sitting at 160.4. I've lost 92.6 pounds. We're going to round it up because I think saying I lost 92.6 pounds, I just say I lost 93 pounds. So in a year and a half, I lost 93 pounds. You could look at that and say, well, the vast majority of it, almost 79 pounds, was in that first year. And over the next 16 or 6 months, you've really you lost about 14 pounds. Well, I lost a lot of weight early on, and your body is going to slowly start kind of moving in a different direction. And it became a little bit of struggle. I hit some stalls along the way, but I just kept trying to push through. And, once again, that's why, I'm trying to push through to get to that remaining loss of 7 pounds. But yeah, so in a year and a half, I lost 93 pounds. Now, starting BMI, and I'm not going to go into, does BMI matter? In this particular case, it does. Because in order to get prescribed Wegovy, and now Zepbound wasn't out when I first started in March of 2023, you have to have a certain BMI range or a certain BMI range and, some other additional ailments like, high blood pressure. So I qualified right off the bat just with my BMI of 37.5, but I also had high blood pressure as well and some cholesterol issues. But like I said, I started at 37.5, and in a year and a half, I've dropped my BMI down to 23.9, which puts me in a higher portion of the normal range. So I lost 13.6 on my BMI scale. I think that's huge. That's another one where just being able to see that I'm in that normal category of the BMI means a lot to me, because I was in overweight category for probably 20 plus years. Take it for what it is. I'm excited to see that normal. What does normal mean? We'll just leave it at that. But in the sole purpose of looking at some of my data points, I'm very proud that I'm now sitting in somewhat of a normal BMI range. Now, starting body fat percentage, 48.4%. I started at almost 50% of my body being fat. That's eye-opening. And so in the course of a year and a half, I got that down 21% So my current body fat percentage, this is based off of my SMART scale, is 27.4%. Once again, that is going to be one of those markers moving forward that I'm going to start keeping my eye on to get down lower. Now, visceral fat. Once again, it's a very key, I think it's a key indicator of health. And so my starting visceral fat was at 18. I'm now sitting at 6, so it went down 12 levels. I'm now in a healthy visceral fat range. Once again, huge for many, many reasons I won't go into here, but I know so much about some of the risks of having high visceral fat. Now, the second to last category is metabolic age. And you're probably like, who cares? That's not like anything anybody really talks about. But I started at a metabolic age of 50 years old. I started my weight loss journey when I was 43. So that meant my health put me at the age of 50. And I don't want to say that in an SNL character, but I'm not going to. But I remember saying to my sister, you know what? Yes, I want to lose weight. Yes, I want to, put on some muscle. Yes, I want to do this, this, and this. But I want to see my real metabolic age. I don't care how long it takes. And so, yeah, took me a year and a half, but I'm now sitting at my real age of 44. Now, I would love to get that even lower. But my goal was to see that. And I remember when that verse came up a couple weeks ago, I screenshot it and sent it out to everybody. I was like, oh my God, my health, I'm finally my age. And it's something we can joke about now, but I think, early on, the fact that I basically aged 7 years from my health is scary. And so, there's many things I can put into this category, but I feel like that one is the one that brings me the most joy. Yes, I love to see, losing, 21% of my body fat percentage or losing 93 pounds, but my metabolic age is my real age, and I'm proud of that one. And then the last one I'm gonna leave with is muscle mass. And this is interesting. So I strength trained 4 or 5 days a week, also did cardio. And I understand that you can lose muscle when you have large amounts of weight to lose. So yes, I lost 93 pounds. I would love to have, maybe stayed within a certain percentage, but I lost 12.8 pounds of muscle in a year and a half. I'm not necessarily alarmed, a little discouraged because, I had a nice steady where it only just declined just a small percentage for the first couple months of my journey. But it started to take a dive about a year in, and then this year. And so, yeah, my muscle mass, 124.4 pounds, is now 110. So I lost 12.8. So I lost about 10% of my muscle, in the past year and a half. And I think what I've learned from that is that I could sit here and say, I worked out. I did the strength training. I ate high protein. But knowing what I know now and understanding some of my metabolism and what I was doing prior to workouts, I think is where I made the biggest mistake in my entire year and a half. And I use the term mistake very, very lightly. I think it's a lesson learned. By using the Lumen device, I realized that I was not really fueling my body properly for my high intensity workouts. And I could sit here and say, well, duh, everybody should know you should have a pre-workout snack. You should have a little bit more carbs before you eat. But I think in the back of my mind, I've always and I think that's where I went wrong, is you think, I want to go into this workout to lose fat, to lose weight. I'm in this calorie restriction. I don't have a window to eat anymore. I can't fit a pre-workout snack in. I'm throwing some excuses out there. But yeah, I want to read, I have to bring something up on my phone, that I think this is, when I started using Lumen, I was doing my pre-workout. I was using the device, my breath, for a pre-workout stat. And as I was learning about it the first month, I was realizing I was going into all of my workouts in a fat burning state. And I'm just going to read this a little bit here, but it says, before starting high intensity or prolonged exercise like weightlifting or HIIT, you need to ensure your body is ready for the challenge ahead. Without enough fuel, you risk breaking down muscle mass for energy. Carbs play a crucial role in maintaining balanced glycogen, your body's carb stores, which helps you power through challenging workouts and avoid muscle breakdown. I didn't avoid muscle breakdown. So even though I was eating higher protein, even though I was staying within my calorie range to lose weight, and even though I had successful weight loss, I missed the opportunity to either maintain some of the muscle or put on more muscle. And that's something I'm doing now. And that's something that I have been doing the past couple weeks since I've started on my Lumen journey. And it hasn't been easy. I will say that right now. It has not yet. Well, eating, I don't mind eating the pre-workout snack, but flipping that switch to say, getting your calories in before your workout is not going to be a detriment to you losing weight. And I think that showed when I lost weight this past month. I started, incorporating some of the philosophies from Lumen. And so that's why I want to really, really take a closer look moving forward, like I said in the beginning of this video, not only in body fat percentage, but my skeletal muscle mass. And I really am, if I made one thing a priority, it's getting the right pre-workout snack in, especially for some of my higher intensity lifting days, especially leg day. And so that's the key area. And if there's one thing I could give any advice for, is just monitor your muscle mass. Even if you know you're losing weight, that's your marker. Just keep an eye on that. And so that's one of the things that I'm really working on. And that's just kind of like, also as I start thinking about, once I hit my goal of losing, 100 pounds, what does my maintenance look like? What does my exit strategy look like? I'm going to be doing a video on that in the very, very near future. Do I plan on exiting off of a GLP-1? It most likely might happen in 2025. I've just been giving it a lot more thought as of late, because I'm allowing myself to go there. And also, my insurance is no longer covering Mounjaro. I've moved to the tirzepatide compound. I'm not worried about not having access to tirzepatide, or, maybe even if I had to during a maintenance period, go to semaglutide. I don't want to talk about like unknowns at all. But, overall, when I, was preparing for this video and I was going through, all of my data points from my weigh-ins, and just going through just kind of my journey for the past year and a half. Yes, I could talk about some little mistakes I've made along the way, but I really honestly couldn't be more proud of the effort that I put into it. I don't feel like I made major sacrifices to my life. I made some changes for me. I didn't lose some friends along the way. I didn't have any family members come up to me with concern with me taking a GLP-1. I had nothing but encouragement, support, and I knew it was, my journey. I'm the one that either is going to succeed or fail. It's going to be no one else's fault. I do say I wish that if you're starting it, or, when I said before about like dietitians or use of Lumen, surround yourself with medical professionals that understand GLP-1s. and somebody that is going to prioritize blood work, talk to you about, your eating, talk to you about what your workouts look like, your health markers. I, in some ways, feel like I've learned more since moving to Joint Fridays on a compound than I did for that like almost year and a half where I was going through my primary care physician. And that's not a knock on him at all. I want to make sure that's out there. He has helped me in the areas when I asked for help. But outside of that, learning more the mental health side of things, the nutrition, the support, like those things are extremely beneficial. And I kind of wish I had them a little bit early on. But overall, I can't wait to see what the future brings. I can't wait to see what the next couple weeks brings before 2025. I can't wait to, see what 2025 looks like and really start making that shift into learning to maintain my weight loss. Like I said, I can't wait to see what the future brings. But I want to wrap up this video here. This is pretty longer than I would have liked to have done a video. So if you made it this far, I really, really appreciate it. Like I said, if you made it this far, comment below if because I could talk for hours about this, but let me know if there's any talking points that I missed in this video that you would like to know from either prior history, when I started, a couple months into now. Put them in the comments below. I'll try to answer them, or maybe I'll take them and put them in a future video. But I just want to be able to be as transparent as I can with each and every one of you, because I started doing videos not from day one. I started them like a year into my journey, which, it can be confusing. But yeah, so please, if you have time, like and subscribe this video. Once again, thank you for making it this far. And I will see you in my next video. You enjoy the rest of your day. And yeah, my next video is going to be a great one. It's going to be not only about my move to a compound, which I know is in the news right now, but that's okay. I'm going to be talking about my move to the compound. And then I also will have a video coming up about my maintenance and my exit strategy from a GLP-1. But I will see you in my next video. Bye.